iPhone 14 Pro worth the money? Apple has nailed the smartphone formula. The iPhone 14 Pro represents a duality in that it is both extremely similar to its predecessor and completely new. It includes numerous camera upgrades as well as the dynamic island, which replaces the infamous notch 5 years after its debut on the iPhone X. So, let's review it and get to know about it. Then, watch the video until the end and subscribe to Tech Studios for more. Here we begin. Apple iPhone 14 Pro display. The Apple iPhone 14 Pro has a 6.1-inch OLED display, the same as the standard model. However, the 120Hz refresh rate panel, the first in an iPhone, is the standout feature of the Pro model. When viewing HDR content, the display has peak brightness of 1600 nits, which can be increased to 2000 nits in outdoor conditions. This is the brightest smartphone display I've ever seen, so we could easily use the phone in direct sunlight with no problems. The 120Hz refresh rate smooths out everything, especially the scrolling experience. Furthermore, it can go as low as 1 Hz. As a result, the iPhone 14 Pro's display quality is simply stunning. The OLED panel is vibrant, and the text on the screen is crisp, not to mention the new pill-shaped cutout on the top, which Apple refers to as Dynamic Island. It's a welcome change from the same old notch we've seen for nearly a decade. While the image quality is excellent, the viewing experience is not enhanced by the pill-shaped cutout. It interferes with watching a video or movie because my eyes are accustomed to the punch hole cutout. It's not a major detriment and certainly not a deal breaker. Furthermore, with the Apple 14 Pro, Apple has finally decided to include an always-on display feature. The ceramic shield shields the display from minor scratches and drops. Design. The design of the iPhone 14 Pro strikes us as contradictory. On the other hand, it resembles the iPhone 13 Pro, albeit with a larger camera module. But, on the other hand, from the back, it may be easier to tell this phone apart from its predecessor if you look closely at those lenses. Admittedly, they are noticeably larger due to the upgrades underneath. On the other hand, the front of Apple's new phone looks very different. The notch has vanished, and the pill-shaped dynamic island has taken place. The old, tired iPhone design has finally been updated, though the cutout remains larger than those on the best Android phones due to the presence of Face ID. Dynamic Island is quite fascinating. It is not merely a static pill, and Dynamic Island expands based on your actions, displaying animations for many system actions such as unlocking, playing music, setting timers, and so on. Tapping and holding Dynamic Island while listening to music will transform into a media player. You can then access media controls without having to open the notification center. Screen cutouts are here to stay for the foreseeable future, at least until Apple develops under-screen Face ID and under-display cameras improve significantly. But, as someone who never got used to the notch and has despised it since its inception, a matte finish complements the stainless steel frame of the iPhone 14 Pro on the back glass, which is now removable for easier but not cheaper repairs. Apple's ceramic shield protects the screen by coating it. The phone weighs 7.3 ounces, a significant amount for such a small device. The iPhone 14 Pro, like the iPhone 13 Pro, has a massive camera bump that prevents it from lying flat on flat surface. Key specs. Historically, Apple's A chips have been regarded as more powerful than their Android counterparts. The new A13 Bionic, which powers the iPhone 14 Pro Max, clearly outperforms the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 powering the latest Android smartphones. The A16 has a smaller 4nm design than an A15, which makes it faster and more power efficient. We can report super high-speed functionality and zero lags after testing the model for over a week. Everything will run smoother if you're watching Dahmer on Netflix, playing Call of Duty, or switching between YouTube, Apple Music, and Apple Maps. The smartphones, available in Space Black, Silver, Gold, and Deep Purple, have storage capacities of 128GB, 256GB, 512GB, and 1TB. Regarding display settings, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has another advantage. When more light is required, it can reach up to 2000 nits of brightness, so you don't have to squint helplessly at your screen when the sun is shining on your face. Instead, you can photograph it. This model also disproves the myth of iPhone battery life. The 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display with a refresh rate of 1 to 120 Hz includes an always-on feature that shows a dimmed-down version of your lock screen background when you aren't actively using your phone but clearly displays time, date, widgets, and notifications. You may believe that enabling the always-on feature will drain your battery. While it is true that turning it off would save some of your power, you don't have to, because even with a full day of social media scrolling, video calls, clicking photos, gaming, and streaming content on OTT platforms, roughly 5 or 6 hours, you can still go at least a day and a half without needing to charge it. Camera. The camera on the Apple iPhone 14 Pro has undergone significant changes. The iPhone 14 Pro, like the previous year's Pro model, features a triple camera setup. However, the new 14 Pro features an upgraded 48MP primary sensor rather than the 12MP lens that had been available for some time. A 12MP ultra-wide lens and a 12MP telephoto lens round out the set. In addition, the front panel houses a 12MP true depth camera for selfies. The new 48MP camera produces some truly stunning images. The images were clear, sharp, and packed with information. The dynamic range is simply incredible, with accurate colors. You also get a 2x zoom that produces excellent results. Overall, you can expect some fantastic photos in the daylight. Even the shots taken in low light were extremely detailed. Portrait shots were stunning, with precise edge detection and a nice background blur. They had fantastic detail, contrast, and colors. The ultra-wide and telephoto lenses are essentially the same as last year. They are excellent at taking ultra-wide shots and zoom shots. However, if you compare it to the iPhone 13 Pro, you won't notice much difference in image quality. Moving to the front, the selfies taken with the 12MP camera were detailed and clear. The subject remains sharply focused thanks to the autofocus, resulting in bright, stable selfies with natural skin tones. Nothing has changed in terms of video recording capability. The back and front camera can record 4K videos at 24 FPS, 25 FPS, 30 FPS, or 60 FPS. Apple also introduces a new action mode with the iPhone 14 series, which allows users to capture some incredibly professional-looking stable videos. The cinematic mode can record video at 4K 30 frames per second, while the action mode is limited to 2.8K 60 frames per second. Battery and charging. According to some experts, the Apple iPhone 14 Pro has a 3200 mAh battery. However, the iPhone 13 Pro review had a 3095 mAh battery, which is a minor upgrade. So yes, it may appear less than other Android phones, but we all know how Apple optimizes its phones to provide excellent battery life, which has an all-day battery life. A light user might be able to get by with the phone for another day, but casual users like me would need to charge it by the end of the day. What do you think of the iPhone 14 Pro? Is it worth it? Let us know in the comments below.